Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to call this select board meeting of the town of Sheffield to order on February 16th at 7 p.m. I want to let you know that CTSB is recording this meeting, and you may do the same just upon letting me know. I want to introduce the members from the select board who are here on this meeting tonight: Martin Mitzoff, Bob Kilmer, and myself, Renee Wood. We also have our town administrator, Rhonda Lombard, and her assistant, Jill Hughes. So with that, let's get to our first item, which is the approval of meeting minutes. We have one set for January 28th of this year and two sets for February 1st of this year.
This is Martin Mitzoff. I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from January 28th and February 1st, two sets, as amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Board members? Let's do a roll call then. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. We, just prior to this meeting, had a very good presentation by Lucy Prashner, who is the chair of the Regional School District Planning Board. This is the group that was formed of all of the 8 towns from Southern Berkshire Regional School District and Berkshire Hills, and they have been looking at potential consolidation and other ways of possibly sharing resources, etc. And they gave us an update of where they are. Any of the board members or Rhonda want to comment on this presentation, discuss what you felt, what you heard, etc.?
This is Martin. I'm good.
So I'm going to take that as a no, right?
That's a no.
Okay. Sometimes I'm not sure. All right. Bob, did you want to summarize this for us at all, or you want to pass on it too?
Well, I'll comment a little bit on it. I really would like to sit down and go through the Mars reports a little bit more before I say too much.
Okay.
Part of what I'm seeing now almost looks like a solution looking for a problem. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, our educational system in Sheffield is very good. It is a little expensive. I don't see a lot of upside or benefit to consolidating, and stage one so far hasn't produced any of that information. I guess that wasn't their purview at this point.
I don't think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hesitant to spend much money going forward. To see if there would be, I can see added transportation costs and other factors. I can see more negatives than positives at this point. But I really need to go through that information in a little bit more detail.
Okay, well, that's good to know where you are. Rhonda, did you want to add anything?
Nothing other than I think it was a very thorough presentation, and they certainly explained the need for everything that they're asking for.
Yes, and specifically what they're asking for is for each of the 8 member towns to consider through their town meeting warrant process a contribution of $15,000 to go forward with the second round. Bob was talking about the first round, which was phase 1, was kind of, and that information is available, was to kind of get the lay of the land. What have we got right now? What are the trends? What are the similarities, dissimilarities between the 2 school districts? And the if I heard it correct, phase 2 would be really for hiring of consultants, people to add structure to this all-volunteer group, and to really look at what could be possible we know what could be possible with the information that has come out about what is right now and what is projected for the future. They have also applied, as they did last year, for a state grant. They got it last year. This year they're looking for a much larger grant, and if that grant is received, which they'll know before town meetings, then the potential request of each town at town meeting would not be $15,000, but would be lower. I'm frankly, pleased that they didn't base this on population. All of the 8 towns are being treated the same. So I saw that as a potential plus in terms of them asking to donate to this. So we just kind of have to watch this space, I think. That was what I got out of it. But I thought it was a very thorough explanation. Nadine Hover and Colin Smith and Bonnie Silvers, who do represent Sheffield in this planning board group, were on the call. And also, I think Bonnie had the most to add, but they were there to help answer questions we had and to provide comments. So unless anybody else wants to say anything more, we'll move forward.
Very good.
Okay. Our next item is discussion and possible action regarding a Department of Conservation and Recreation grant. And we received today a proposal, and we have with us tonight members of Native Habitat Restoration who have made the proposal. And so at this point, we have Sari Hoy and her partner at Native Habitat Restoration, Jess Toro. And Sari, I'd like to hand it over to you to explain this to us.
Okay, thank you, Renee. This is Sari Hoy, 60 Main Street, Sheffield. And I just want to introduce ourselves. We are a local company. I work out of Sheffield. My business partner, Jess Toro, works out of Stockbridge. We've been doing the type of work that we're proposing today together as a business for the last 11 years. And before that, we both also worked in the business independently. We've worked with other local municipalities on similar projects and have accessed this grant and other grants to help municipalities do the work. We believe this is a unique opportunity to work with the town of Sheffield. Jess Toro is our company ecologist and the person who writes all our grant applications, and she's very familiar with the details of those grants. So I'm going to actually pass it over to Jess to describe the project that we have proposed to you today, and to hopefully answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you, Sari. Hello, everyone. So as Sari mentioned, I work out of Stockbridge, and I grew up here. And one of the things that we've been aware of in starting our business, but also over time, is just how much a lot of our town lands have changed. I think this is also apparent to other people who work for the town or enjoy the town land, on how much invasive plants have overwhelmed and depleted our natural resources. So we, over time, have worked with multiple towns in addressing conservation or ecological problems that the townlands have. And as Sari mentioned, we're very familiar with this DCR grant through the Working Forest Initiative. And we saw this as a great opportunity to build upon some initial work that was done as part of an exhibit for the DCR Celebration Day. And the reason we have selected the areas that are highlighted in the map is that invasive species are both problematic around high-use areas, both for damaging trees. Bittersweet can be very problematic, but also impeding visibility and promoting ticks with Lyme disease. One of many studies have been looking at how tick abundance goes up with invasive species present, and as tick abundance goes up, ticks carrying Lyme disease or other tick-borne illnesses also increase. So I think for a high-use area, especially around the ball field in the Sheffield Town Park, it would be important to reduce these invasive species and therefore start reducing the abundance of these ticks in the area. So we're proposing for this initial phase of work, just working around this high-use area, keeping it a small phase one, partly because at this point in the DCR grant cycle, it's a rolling grant cycle, they have very little funds left. So this kind of falls within what is remaining within their budget to grant out. And this allows kind of the board and the town to take an initial phase without committing too much of any resources one way or the other into it. And we hope to build on this effort and expand it out into other areas in future years. One of the nice ways this grant works is you can reapply year after year, and for new work, but also for additional treatment, retreatment for these areas. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we're proposing. There is very large invasive shrubs and trees found in the two highlighted areas. And we're proposing to cut those down mechanically with the chainsaws and then to hand paint the cut stumps that are on the ground with a wetland approved low toxicity herbicide. So this is, the handwork of the mechanical, but also just very specific treatment for these larger shrubs and trees. We will stack and pile all the cut debris for mulching about a week later, so there won't be any debris left in the areas, in the work areas. Also, any large vines, any large bittersweet vines will have a similar, where it will get cut and then painted on the stump. Any small vines will be cut high out of the trees, and any small invasive shrubs that are remaining, we will come back in June and do a foliar application on those smaller individual shrubs and vines. There's very few of those. Really what we're dealing with is these much larger, denser invasive shrubs and trees and vines, but there are some scattered smaller ones found throughout the area. This will all be done by the grant deadline, June 30th, 2021. We would meet with the board if we proceeded on this project and we're funded, to meet in that kind of right around that time frame to go over what the results were, but also to submit a final report. And at that time, we would talk about, what any future project or future funding will look like. I'm going to stop there and let you guys ask me questions, and then, explain some more.
Okay, thank you. Bob, do you have any questions?
No, I'm very familiar with Sari and her partner and the work they do.
Okay, Martin, how about you?
Sari or Jess, when would the work begin? When do you anticipate it beginning?
Well, that will really it will depend on the DCR approval of the work. So the work would happen as soon as the approval occurs. It really depends on the time frame that the grant application goes in, which we also do, I should have mentioned, we do help with the actual creation of the application. Okay. And Mike Downing, who runs the program, it usually takes him about 2 to 3 weeks to turn around an approval if he has the funds. So we're probably looking at no earlier than late March, but probably more realistically April, May.
Okay, thank you. And is there, under the current proposal, is there any requirement for funding directly from the town of Sheffield?
There is. So under the DCR application, there's a 25% match from the town.
25, okay,
So it'd be $1,500
okay.
about. Yeah. Rhonda, do you have any questions?
No, Martin asked the question that I was going to ask. It was about the town's match portion. I'm set.
Okay. So most of our, in fact, everyone who's on the call with us does not have the map that went with your proposal, but it kind of starts down as you come into the park on the road, and it kind of starts with that first wooded area as you're approaching the pavilion, and your area of concern runs really right up past the ballparks and it kind of ends at where you start getting into the trees, at the south side of the ballparks. So, these are, I heard bittersweet mentioned. Who else have we got in this group of
bittersweet,
invasives?
Honey and the invasive honeysuckle shrubs. They're a little hard to tell apart in the wintertime. It is also privet, multiflora rose. There's some really scattered Japanese barberry there as well, but that's predominantly what's occurring.
Okay, all right. And when you said you help prepare, does this mean you prepare for our signature?
I will prepare a draft grant application for your editing and review. At that point, if you guys are comfortable with it, you would then sign it and submit it directly to Mike Downey.
Okay, all right. But it doesn't sound like there's a lot of work that we would have to do on the application. All right.
No, in the past, the way we've worked with, say, the town of Great Barrington or the town of Stockbridge or the town of Lennox is to really kind of, this proposal is a little bit, we beef it up to have measures of success and metrics for which they can evaluate whether the work was successful. And so we put all of that in, knowing of how we would write a final report.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions from board members or Rhonda?
No.
Okay. Jess or Sarah, do you have anything else you would like to tell us before we take this under discussion?
I think the only thing to suggest is if you're looking for two comparable sites in other towns, one is we've worked at the McAllister Preserve in Great Barrington, helping them remove hedgerows and doing invasive control. And the other place we've had great success is at Gould Meadows in Stockbridge. Kennedy Park is another one in Lennox, but it's a little farther. So, but it's just places where you can go to kind of see the type of work we're talking about.
Okay, and it does sound like we have a board member who's very familiar with your work, Bob. Okay. So, board members, it does sound like time is of the essence if we want to tap into the DCR grant on this for this current fiscal year. There'll be another round. It sounds like that will start on July 1st. And, of course, the ballparks and the park, hopefully, we'll have people in there at that time this year. So what we would have to find just about, let's just say $1,500 somewhere. I don't know if that's available, Rhonda, anywhere in our current budget without having to go to any of our other funds.
I think probably, Renee, I will take a look tomorrow just to make sure, but I'm thinking that amount of money can be found maybe in the groundskeeping portion of the buildings and grounds budget.
That's okay, great. If that money is available, what would the board like to do?
I'd make a motion to move forward with the grant.
I'll second that.
Okay. Bob, do you want your motion to be subject to the availability of funds, and if they're not in the buildings and grounds, we would have to come up with a funding source? But if it is,
that's fine. Yes.
Okay, and Martin, would you amend your motion to support that?
So amended.
Okay, great. And why don't we go ahead at the same time, if you would, authorize our town administrator to sign this after it's gone through, proper editing? Could we get that done too?
So moved.
And likewise amended as a second.
Okay. Does that sound good, Rhonda?
Yes, I think it sounds fine.
We've covered the bases.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion amongst board members?
No.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote then. Bob?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Renee, aye. So, Jess and Sari, thank you very much. Go ahead and get this going, and as soon as you're ready to have it reviewed, edited, forward it, if you would please, to Rhonda. We'll take a look at it, and we'll get it signed and submitted. How's
Great.
that sound?
That
Okay?
sounds wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, if you don't stay on for the rest of the meeting. So our fourth item is a discussion and possible action regarding SNE Building Systems Service Agreement Proposal for the Senior Center. Rhonda, could you walk us through this, please?
Sure. So this is for the heating system at the senior center, which is all computer controlled, and we have struggled for years trying to figure out how to adjust the heat. Many people have worked on it. And we were finally able to get a hold of this SNE Building Systems from East Granby, Connecticut. And they came up and they've updated the system. So the system had never been upgraded since the construction of the center in 2008, I believe it was. So they've put in new parts, they've upgraded the system. And so this agreement that we're looking at tonight would be a 3-year agreement for $1,000 a year for them to continue with the upgrades on the system to make sure that we have the ability to change the heat as we need to.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Board members, discussions? Questions?
Rhonda, this is Martin. Did they find anything untoward in their evaluation? Anything that needs to be replaced or repaired that we otherwise wouldn't have known about?
No, I don't think there was anything untoward. It was just so outdated that even if we had figured out through the computer system how to upgrade it, or how to turn the heat on and off correctly, I'm not sure that we would have been able to do it because we had a very outdated system. They've already done that work, and this will be a contract moving forward, so they'll come and do an inspection and make sure that we have the automatic updates every year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Bob, anything?
Yes, so this is $1,000 a year just to go through the computer system for the furnace, not actually servicing the furnace or any of the heating system, just the computer system?
Just the computer system that runs the heat, yes.
And this computer system is...
Excuse me,
Okay,
Bob,
go ahead, Renee.
It does look like it's a semi-annual schedule on page. It's on the last page.
Yeah. No, my point was that it sounds like a very expensive system for a very simple building. I'm not quite sure why there was such a complex computer system type heating system installed in the senior center to begin with. $1,000 a year is quite an expense for just computer upgrades that I'm not quite sure benefit the town that much.
Can
I can't.
This is Martin. Can I just add a little bit from the contract? It does indicate that they will ensure they'll do on-site system inspection and preventive maintenance tasks to ensure that the building automation system is operating at maximum performance and reliability, and that their on-site technicians will analyze, adjust, calibrate all applicable temperature sensors, humidity sensors, diagnostic LEDs, workstations, controllers, modems, input, outputs, communications, etc. So they're going to be working with components of the heating system as well, as opposed to, I was kind of thinking of it the same way you were, Bob. I think that, well, they're just going to get a laptop computer out and start looking at things, and then they're going to walk away. I think it's more than that. And again, given the complexity of the system there, I don't know why it was installed with such a complex system, but I think this is a little bit more robust in terms of what that building and its current system requires.
That current system may require this type of attention, and my thought is, why did we install such a complex system to begin with? But now we may be tied to it, so.
Yeah, you know, Bob, when that was being done, I know that we went through, Ron didn't help me with this, but I know we went through 2 architects. And, you know, I remember this very well because we got a grant that nobody thought we would ever get to build the senior center under the Obama 2000, you know, as a result of the Great Recession. But I could not tell you why such a complex system was put in. It may have been felt that it was state of the art and wasn't going to be complex. I don't think anyone, I think we're there to take it out and put something new in would cost much more money. Rhonda, do you have any idea how much it cost them? Because on this attachment A, it does say what is their preferred labor, materials rates, and repair schedules. Do you have any idea what it costs us to get this thing adjusted when it was nobody could figure it out?
I don't remember the exact amount, Renee. I'm going to say it was somewhere around $1,200, but I'll have to look into it and find out exactly.
Okay, no, that estimate is good to me. I do see here in the preferred labor material rates that for contract customers there is a discounted rate. And I also do see under the preventative maintenance, Martin was reading some of that it does look like they would be on site. It does say on site inspection. You know, it's kind of like having your furnace looked at for those of us who have that type of system. And there would be 2 inspections. Bob, what would the board like to do? Do you want to know what it costs to fix it? I mean, one option is just to don't do anything until it breaks again. The other option is to see if there would be a different rate for a 1-year system and evaluate it for 1 year rather than for 3 years. You know, those are kind of the only things that I see.
My thought was, have we had a local heating and cooling HVAC person look at this system and see if it wouldn't be better to replace it with something simpler?
Yes. And the comment was it would cost you way too much to try and pull that out now and rewire it so that it was just a normal heating system where you could just go and, you know, turn a thermostat. So we did look at that option. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they did not feel that it would be worthwhile to scrap the system at this point?
No.
Well, if we can't scrap the system feasibly, then I guess we have to maintain it.
Well, and there's 2 ways to maintain it. You just let it go until it breaks, or do some sort of and then you maintain it, or when you do some sort of a service contract.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I'm not so sure that what we want to say is that it was broken. It just hadn't been upgraded. So the system needs to be upgraded according to the gentleman that I talked to, Joe, the one who signed it. You have to upgrade the system to make sure that it has the newest information in the computer to make sure that it operates correctly. For years, we have struggled with the heat going down at a certain time of day and everybody freezing in the building. So I don't think that it would be a good option to just let it go and wait for a problem to happen again. I think we've finally gotten on top of it. When the system was put in, I don't know if I can answer why we put this system in. I wasn't in those conversations. But they were given a contract at the time, and I think it fell through the cracks, which would be the service contract like we're looking at now.
No, I think you're right. I think we need to have a service contract, but it is pretty pricey to maintain this type of system on such a small building that the return on investment is not good at all. But we have it now, so we have to maintain it.
Bob, it would be interesting also, we're just coming out of the cold part of the year, or hopefully we will be soon, but it would be interesting to look at the heating and cooling bills on this building over the next year, or from the time that it has been calibrated. It's computer run, and we're kind of stuck with that. But there may be some offsets from more efficient running on either the heating side or the cooling side. And
there should be.
Yeah, we won't know that until we see the bills.
Right.
This is Martin. Can I ask a couple of other questions?
Go right ahead.
So now that they've done this initial work, Rhonda, is it straightforward for Kathy or Elaine or someone else there to modify that controlling system to do what they want? Or is every time they're going to need to do that, will they have to call in SNE to come and adjust the controls?
No, they also provided training, which was another problem, is no one seemed to know how to do it.
Okay.
And so they did provide training, and so Elaine and Kathy or whoever they show how to do it can certainly adjust things as it's needed.
Okay. And do you think the twice annual approach is going to be sufficient with that training?
I do.
Okay. And then I have one other question as it related to, or one other observation. Bear with me, I'm just going back to the contract. Under preferred labor materials rates repair services, the italicized paragraph at the end of that section, the second sentence, bothers me a lot. Outside material purchases invoiced at cost plus a 15% overhead and a 10% profit on any parts that they would need to repair it. Just out of my own experience, I always negotiate those completely off the page, meaning not a chance. You'll invoice us at cost if you need to make outside material purchases. That just seems excessive, and who knows where that will go over the course of a 3-year contract. I just find that unpalatable. Just an observation on my part, but that's kind of my editorial on that.
So, do we want to ask Rhonda to work to strike that second sentence?
I'd certainly like to see it struck. This is Martin. Yes.
Okay, I can give them a call tomorrow and discuss that with them.
Yeah. It's also important to know that both Kathy and Elaine were nowhere near this building when it was built.
Yeah.
And I would hope that these instructions are now written down. So if something changes in personnel, or both of them are out at some point when we reopen the senior center, whoever is there will know how to do this. So I'm hoping we have these written. All right, is there any other discussion on this?
Is there any way we could enter into it for a 1-year agreement at the rate? And then, as you pointed out, Renee, review our heating and cooling expenses and the operation of it after 1 year to see whether this could be renewed for another 2 years or something?
Rhonda can find out the rates for it. Generally, the longer the term, the better the rates they give
Right.
you. But we could ask Rhonda when she makes that call to find that out, and we would probably have time to put this on an upcoming working meeting so that we don't have to wait until the first meeting in March.
I think that's a good idea.
So Rhonda, are you good with that? And we'll have you ask those questions, and then we'll revisit this at our first opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, Bob, you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then let's go on. Martin, would you like to handle number 5 for us?
Sure. So the Sheffield Fire Department Vigilant Committee has interviewed another applicant for the role of a volunteer firefighter. It seems like we're getting one about every 2 months, which is nothing but good news. This gentleman's name is Adrian Misakongo. He's completed a complete application form that's in our packet for the role of a probationary firefighter, volunteer firefighter. And I would make a motion that we approve the application as submitted.
Has he gone through
Second.
Corey? Has he gone through Corey?
The
Could you
Corey
make that-
information's filled out. I don't know what the status of that is.
Could you make that motion pending Corey return?
So amended, yes, thank you.
And Bob, would you just amend your second?
I'll amend my second, yes.
Okay, this is wonderful. Is there any other discussion on this matter before we take a vote? And Martin, you've made the motion pending Corey. So let's go ahead and take our roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee, aye. Terrific. Okay, our next item is discussion, possible action regarding the USDA grant for the firefighters' EMS vehicle. I think we've talked a little bit about this before. We're supposed to be finishing up our USDA grant that we got for the last police cruiser. We should be getting that check this week. There was a few things dropped, unfortunately, at the USDA, and when they changed personnel, but we're back on track. And if the board would approve this, this is, we have got this completely outfitted. I'm working with the fire department on this, and we can get up to 50,000. The town pays 25%. As this is currently configured, we will not. We'll be around 40, high 40s, 50. But this vehicle and all the equipment to go with it, the truck, will not be as high as the police cruiser. So I would like to see if we can get a motion to go forward with applying for this grant for the EMS vehicle and equipment. And I would also like to ask the board, though we would have to, this is not posted, so if we took action on this tonight, we would have to revisit it and do a formal ratification of our vote at our, at our next meeting. But I'd also like to see if we could also get authorization to apply for a USDA grant for another cruiser.
I would be fine with that.
We could apply for more than one. We may not get one, but we can apply for more than one grant. We can submit more than one grant is what I meant to say.
I think it would be worthwhile.
Somebody want to make a motion?
This is Martin. I'll make a motion that we apply for a USDA grant for a fire department EMS vehicle with a cost share of 25% to the town, and authorize either Renee or Rhonda or both to execute that grant.
Okay,
I'll second.
I'll take the motion we've got. Excuse me. Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. Now, what about the police cruiser?
And I was going to make a second motion for that.
Great. Would you do that?
Yes. I'm making a motion that we also work on a USDA grant for a new police cruiser. Bear with me just a second. For a motion and vote tonight, but for ratification at a later select board meeting.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion, and we know we have to put that on a future agenda, our next agenda for formal ratification, because it's not on our meeting agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Let's do a roll call. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. Great, thank you. Now, our next item is, this is in our packet. We have discussion, possible action regarding submission of a letter regarding financial statements and educational requirements from 3 currently established marijuana institutions or establishments. That's Berkshire Wellco, that's Theory Wellness, and Nova. You'll notice in the draft letters that Theory Wellness and Nova somehow being earliest into the HCA's escaped an inclusion of a community event or education in their contracts. And I also did a letter which is very similar. I don't know if anyone really saw it, but it's similar for Cana Provisions, excuse me, who has not given us any quarterly reports. They're just starting, but they do have an educational or outreach component. So I thought, with the board's approval, why not ask them for their educational outreach plans at the same time?
Thank you for doing that, Renee.
So
Sounds like a good idea.
These are all up for changes, et cetera, or a motion to approve as presented. What would the board like to do?
This is Martin. I'll make a motion that the 3 letters, one to Theory Wellness, one to Berkshire Wellco, and one to Nova Farms, and with a further letter to be drafted for Cana Provisions, be approved as drafted for our respective signatures.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee, aye. Rhonda, do you want to bring the board up to date on just as a piece of information, the letter that we, the amendment that we received back from Theory Wellness?
So we have received the amendment back from their HCA regarding the quarterly payments and the expansion of their business. So there are a couple things that I think we need to remind them of in their agreement, but they were very quick in getting that back to us.
Yes, and I'll take that in. I've already signed it. I'll take it in tomorrow for Rhonda to get the to go over it and to get the rest of the signatures. If it's I think it's exactly what we sent them. I didn't see any changes. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to our next item. And Rhonda, I'm going to ask you to cover this for us, please, and that's discussion regarding the cover of the town report for 2020.
Right. So it's the time of year when we're looking for a picture for the cover and possibly the back cover as well from a resident who would like to submit a picture that they've taken, something in Sheffield. So if anybody has any, we would love to have them submitted electronically. We have to have it electronically so it can get to the printer. But they can submit it to me through email, or they can give us a call, and we can walk them through getting it to us. But we would really like to have them by March 15th. Once we receive them, the board will take a look, and the board will make the decision on what picture goes on the town report.
And we've had all kinds of wonderful photographs. We do give credit in the town report. We don't pay for this, but we do give credit, and everyone in town who has a town report, which is just about everybody, sees it. And we've had winter scenes, summer scenes, sunsets, reflections, snow, birds. It's pretty wide open fields. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. If you're interested in doing that, please just get that electronically to Rhonda. Thank you, Rhonda. And let's do our next one is an update on some items at the transfer station. Rhonda, why don't we start with you on the mattress box and the compactor repair, and then I'll come back in on the textiles.
Okay, great. So the mattress box is there, and it's going great, according to Charlie, who does it for us the first Sunday of every month. He's getting a lot of mattresses, and people are bringing in the coupons. The one thing that I wanted to remind people is please do not leave them on a day other than the first Sunday of the month, because if they get wet or damaged, we can't take them, and then we have no place to dispose of them. So we did have someone leave one last week, and it had rained and snowed on top of it, and so we had to find a way to get rid of that. So I'm just asking everyone to please wait till that first Sunday of the month, and then we'd be happy to take your mattress. Also, when you're filling out the blue coupons that you have to give to dispose of a mattress, it would be great if you just printed your name rather than sign it, just so we have a record of who has dropped things off. There's a place for your name, and people are tending to sign it, and then we can't read it. And the last thing is the compactor repair. I know everyone has been patiently waiting for the compactor to be repaired so that everything can go back to normal. Our paper box will go back to the compactor and not in the open top. However, we're still waiting for delivery of parts. They've all been delayed. So we're on it. We're watching it. We're trying to get it done as soon as we can.
That seems to be the story of everything these days. It's delayed in shipment. But I know that the town transfer station employees have been working under some pretty interesting conditions with a lot of wind and weather. And I know we all really thank them as well as the transfer station users for their patience. I just want to say something on the textile boxes. We have two of them, and I guess the poster I put together and we emailed out really wasn't a very good one. I just want to let people know that in addition to stuff that looks great, we're also taking textiles, which includes shoes, accessories, clothing, that is also worn, torn, faded, frayed, seen its better days. But as long as it's clean, dry, odor and mold free, we can take it and it will find a use through textile, reclamation, reuse, recycling, just everything. So besides the new, we're also taking the old and the torn and those who have kind of become velveteen clothes. They've outlived their life, including shoes, just through those conditions, clean, dry, odor, and mold-free. Okay, so our next item is a curb cut for Polikoff Road, and we have this in our packet, and this is for ZGC LLC for down on...
Polikoff.
Yes, thank you, it's tiny. 710 Polikoff Road, and it has been signed by both of our highway superintendent, and police chief. Anything else on this one, Rhonda?
No, it's all on the page. So.
Okay. Board members, do you wish to take out some action on this?
This is Martin. I'll make a motion that we approve the curb cut application for ZGC LLC at that address on Polycoff Road.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Otherwise, let's do a roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Renee? Aye. All right. It's time for our twice-a-month COVID-19 update. Martin?
Thank you. Case numbers in Sheffield remain very low. Thank you to everyone that's been doing their part in inhibiting the spread of the virus. I can't tell you how many cases we have, but it is a low number, and it's remained pretty low throughout the last 10, 11 months. There is the vaccination process continues to be rolled out successfully. Western Mass apparently is doing better than the rest of the Commonwealth altogether, but now the Commonwealth ranks among the top 10 states per capita for COVID-19 vaccinations, either through Moderna or Pfizer. And of course, Johnson & Johnson is working on rolling out a single-dose vaccine. My sincere thanks to everyone in the community that has offered assistance to, at this stage, still 75-year-old plus seniors, whether it be the Kathy and Elaine at the Senior Center or other members of the Council on Aging or even other members of the general public who may know or have a neighbor, set of neighbors, 88 years old, whatever. They don't have internet. They don't watch TV that much. They need help. They can reach out. And that sort of neighborly assistance with regard to getting registered is very, very valuable and very valued indeed. So thank you for that. And again, there are a variety of sources, the television, the radio advertisements, newspaper advertisements as well, offering assistance for those that need to get registered. And as everybody knows, you do need to be registered and you do need to be in the appropriate categories at the right time to get your vaccinations. I don't know at this stage, I have not heard when the rollout for the next set or the next group, which would be those age 65 and older. Still waiting to hear about that. There are some issues with regard to vaccine supplies from the federal government, but so far those have not materially hindered the vaccination process in Massachusetts. So again, be patient with us. We'll work with you. We're trying to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And so again, thank you for that. The only other thing that I want to add is one of the variants of the COVID-19 virus, the one that everybody has been concerned about from South Africa. Massachusetts had its first case today. It's not in our area. There's no need to worry about it at this stage, but there are indications that other variants are making their way here. So again, if I could just recommend to everybody, continue the social distancing, continue wearing a face covering, really at any time that you're out in the public, or if you're in a household with other members of the household who might be ill and suffering from COVID-19 or anything else. There is also guidance on what is now being termed double masking, which could be a mask with 3 layers, a homemade mask with 3 layers, or some combination of cloth masks that double up on the protection. I know it's just yet another burden for all of us to bear, but there is very, very good guidance both from the Massachusetts Department of Health as well as from the Centers for Disease Control about why those extra layers, rather than just a simple handkerchief, if you will, does so much more to prevent the transmission, the aerosol-borne transmission of the virus. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Renee.
Well, thank you, Martin. That's terrific. I did understand, I think, that Berkshire County has requested the governor allow them to move to the next phase, which would be the 65 and older group.
Yes, okay.
But I don't know if you have any comments on that or saw that.
I haven't seen a given date wherein people can start registering.
They've just requested it.
In that age group.
Yeah, they've just requested it. They're trying to get
good.
it separate from the rest of the state. So we're going to have to watch that. Again, I think kudos to Kathy and Elaine for the work of what they're doing. It's just been really, as you said, really, really something. A lot of people helping others. So let's go to board items. Bob, do you have any board items?
Not tonight.
Items? Martin, how about you?
Yeah, I just wanted everybody to know that the work that the select board and Rhonda and Jill and others have been doing on the potential highway garage location on town property. In other words, it's a piece of property owned by the town at 422 Berkshire School Road is continuing, and I think the next step is going to be that we get some environmental delineations made and some soil testing done, but that is proceeding, and that's all I have.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a moment. And I do want to thank Bob again for bringing that land forward. It had been looked at a while ago, years ago, but it's very much back on the books. And we have hired Mark Volk of Foresight Engineering. Now, it was my understanding, Martin, that he was going to be doing a tour. Maybe he's done that with a couple of conservation members, board members, and I know you're on the Concom.
Yes, he hasn't requested that tour yet. In other words, it's not an agenda item for the Conservation Commission, but our members are apprised, and we're just standing by for. I think what Mark wanted to do was to get that a little bit more work done so that he could show the commission members a delineation within the central portion of that site.
Right, and I think the snow interrupted that. But
yeah.
we have all been over there on a site visit and seen that area and looked around, and he has already started working with a number of the state agencies. This is in an area of ACEC, an area of critical environmental concern.
Yeah.
But so are a lot of houses in that area. So it doesn't mean you can't build there. It means that you just have to go through a number of extra procedures to make sure that it is kosher. So
exactly.
I think once we can get some ground cleared, in other words, not piled with snow, I think what you said is exactly right. He's going to delineate it. The Concom is going to take a look, make whatever you guys have to do, and then there'll be a number of soil tests, et cetera, but hopefully we will continue to move forward on this and know maybe within 3 months whether this is the viable site that we think it's going to be. But this is specifically where the town has had its focus for some time, and this is its only focus. And Bob, did you want to add anything more on the Berkshire School site for the highway garage?
No, I think you've covered it all pretty well. It seems to be a good site and a sound site, and I think as long as everybody's on board, we can keep moving forward, and it should be a very good a good. Oh God, I can't come up with the word I'm looking for. Anyway, it's located in a very good centralized portion of town.
Yeah. Okay. Rhonda, anything to add on this?
No.
Okay. Martin, did you have any other items?
No, thank you.
Okay. I just have one. I just want to let everybody know that nomination papers are now available. This is for our May elections, and this year we'll have on the annual town election ballot, we'll have our moderator for a one-year term. We'll have a selectman, that's me, and anyone else who chooses to run. There's one slot for a 3-year term. There's library trustee. Martin, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so there's one slot for a 3-year term that's currently occupied by Martin. Whether he's going to run or not, I don't know, but anyone is able to throw their hat in and take out nomination papers.
I have to check with my fellow trustees to see if they want me.
Okay, and then on the planning board, there's also one 3-year term that is available. Phyllis C. Joyce, our town clerk, has these nomination papers. The deadline to obtain papers is Friday, March 19th. The last day to submit them for certification with all the signatures is Monday, March 22nd. Phyllis C. also wanted everyone to know that her office will be doing a voter registration deadline. They will be announcing that soon, and that also she's expecting additional information to come from the state regarding voting by mail. So if you're interested in running for any of those 4 offices, please give Phyllis a call or email her, and she can get the papers ready for you and then make an appointment for you to pick them up either by putting them on the front door of Town Hall or making a time to hand them to you directly. Rhonda, do you have any town administrator items?
I don't for tonight, Renee. Thank you.
Okay. Where it's now time for public comments. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment? If you do, if you would please give us your name and your address, that would be great.
Bonnie Silvers, 15 Bow Wow Road.
Okay, Bonnie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to thank all of you for the careful attention and the great questions to the presentation on the Regional School District Planning Board's request for the warrant item. And always here if there are other questions. Thank you so much.
So, Bonnie, let me just ask you a quick question. So
Sure.
all 8 towns are not writing their own warrant article. I'm assuming that someone on the committee is going to provide this?
The towns, the ones I've heard were writing their own, but I'll definitely ask Lucy. I mean, is that your preference that there be a standard one?
Well, I'd have to leave that to Rhonda. I know if I was going to ask people for money, I'd sure want to make sure that they put on the warrant the right thing.
Sounds like a plan. I will definitely contact.
If you're not going to do it, it's fine, and we may, if you give us a standard thing,
right,
standardized, we may change it. But I'm just trying to figure out
a template. I think it makes sense for Lucy, especially with her legal background, to write a template warrant for all 8 towns.
Okay, great.
Sounds like
Thanks,
a plan.
Bonnie.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Did you have anything else you wanted to comment on?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else, please?
Hi, it's Lauren Hyde, 535 Polycoff. I was wondering what a curb cut is, and I'm also wondering, I didn't see it on the agenda, so I was just curious what it is. I Googled it, and it looks like a drain in the road, but could someone explain to me what it is, why it wasn't on the agenda?
Yeah, we did post a revised agenda.
Oh, I just looked. I didn't see it, Renee. I looked on the website. Would it not be on the website?
Not uncommon. I know that we had a couple of people with the weather today who did not make it in, but I know it's also out there. But let's have Rhonda explain to you what a curb cut is.
Okay, just because it's on Polycoff, so I just, I'm interested.
So the easy and quick way to describe what a curb cut is permission to put a driveway in off of a town road. So we have the highway superintendent look at it to see how big it needs to be, if it needs to have an apron, if there needs to be a culvert underneath it. And then we also have the police chief look at it, and he will look at the site to see if he feels it's the safest spot on their property for that driveway to be installed.
Okay. I was just curious what it was. Thank you. And then I also was curious what the potential address is for the garage on Berkshire School Road.
How would we guess?
422 Berkshire School Road, approximately.
Did you say
And
422?
I'm sorry?
Did you say 422?
Yes, 422.
Okay.
Lauren,
It's
just go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say it's directly across from the first entrance to the high school.
Okay, great. Thanks for that information.
You know where that big
You're welcome.
tree is that's kind of been falling
Yep.
apart? Yes.
Yep, I know exactly
You're
the
there.
tree you're talking about. Yep.
Yes, that's it. Okay?
Okay, cool.
All righty. Anything else?
I don't think I have anything else that I didn't already email you guys this morning.
Oh, all right. You emailed Rhonda, right?
I emailed the town hall email address.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment?
Renee, this is Barry.
Mm-hmm.
60 Main Street, Sheffield. I just wanted to ask about the textile box. A couple of people have asked me, and I don't know the answer. What does that? People want to know where they can take their used clothes that they would like other people to be able to wear. Does a textile company sort through it and distribute different fabrics or clothing to different ends?
Yes. There's. I'm going to be doing an article for the Sheffield Times, and you can also go to apparelimpact.com.
Okay.
But they are. We researched this pretty carefully. They are very similar to Goodwill in that both companies have processes where they take out from the donations the really good clothes that could be used by people who are seeking to do a job interview or need to have proper clothing for a new job, something of that sort. Also, I know both organizations support giving clothing to people in the community. If you Google apparelimpact.com, they have had a very strong relationship with military forces, particularly people coming out of military service, as well as a number of people who are transitioning. Okay, I myself was very pleased with how they said they use the clothing, but they also take clothing that it's going to be made into rags, which is a very good use of some clothing, and they also do have sources that they send it to overseas, and it's also repurposed. So check out that website and see, but it's very much like Goodwill, except that people can donate it there at the transfer station. Some people, I've been told by them, they don't care for Goodwill for whatever reason. So it's another choice. It's another choice, and possibly it's convenient, and it just needs to be dry, clean, odor, and mold-free, and that's it. Yeah. And they take shoes, they take, purses, ties, belts, kids' clothes. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
I hope that helps.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Bye-bye.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. Well, if there's no other public comment, I'm going to ask for a final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Martin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Renee, aye. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is the end of the Select Board meeting for February 16th. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.